Today is National Voter Registration Day, and we are asking you to please join us in going to iwillvote.com to check your status and vote early like we do.
We are voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because they are fighting to protect our reproductive freedom, our planet, and our democracy.
We can't let extremists control our lives, our freedoms, and our future. The only way to stop them and the dangerous Project 2025 agenda is to vote and elect Kamala Harris.
Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Go to iwillvote.com and make a plan to vote early.
Love you guys.
That was Billie Eilish with her brother Phineas endorsing Kamala Harris on National Voter Registration Day. And just in case you don't know who Billie Eilish is, the numbers might offer a little bit of insight. She's got 7.5 million followers on Twitter, 119 million followers on Instagram, and 66 million followers on TikTok. And we're talking about an endorsement in an election that in 2020 was decided by tens of thousands of votes in about 3 states. To suggest that an endorsement like this won't have massive impacts is to deny just how influential someone like Billie Eilish is. And remember, this comes on the heels of yet another massive endorsement. Taylor Swift took to Instagram offering up a full-throated endorsement of Kamala Harris and a condemnation of Trump and J.D. Vance. She also posted a voter registration link that, within 24 hours of it being posted, sent a staggering 405,000 people to her unique vote.gov link. And remember, for those who do decide to register after visiting that link, we already know that about 80% of those who register do show up to vote, all of which bodes poorly for Trump and Republicans, whose sole goal in this election is to prevent people from exercising their right to vote. And in case you were wondering how bad that was for Trump, well, just listen to his own words. He took to Truth Social writing, "I hate Taylor Swift." Subtle, huh? And there are 2 reasons here for that. The first is obvious. Taylor Swift is the biggest star on earth. She commands the attention and affection of millions and millions and millions of people. And again, in an election where the margins will not be millions of votes, not even hundreds of thousands of votes, but probably just thousands of votes in a few states like Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, having someone like Taylor Swift out there registering new voters is a pretty damn effective weapon for Kamala Harris. But there's another reason that Trump is so quick to attack Taylor Swift. His debate performance against Kamala Harris was so bad that waging war with the biggest star on the planet actually seems preferable to him, which, my goodness, what a devastating tacit admission of a failed debate that attacking Taylor Swift somehow seems the superior choice. This is like when kids ask each other if they would rather eat 100 spiders or 100 scorpions. Not great when those are the options. But just look at the numbers. This is what the polling looks like in the debate aftermath. Not a single highly rated national poll has Trump over Kamala Harris. His performance on that stage all but wiped out any good polling he might have enjoyed. And so because that debate was just that much of a disaster for him, he knows that if he can distract even with a feud with Taylor Swift, that's apparently what he's gonna do. And by the way, this isn't some new strategy. Donald Trump employs it all the time. Remember when Kamala first entered the race? She was getting all the attention, filling up rallies, blocking out the sun for Trump. What did he do? He shoved himself on stage at the National Association of Black Journalists and said that Kamala Harris wasn't black. Denying her ethnicity and insulting people of color, and especially biracial people across the US, was apparently a price that he was willing to pay so that he can claw back the attention, without which he presumably stops breathing. A couple of days later, what did he do? He held a Mar-a-Lago press conference where he bragged that his rallies are bigger than Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech crowd. You think that's going to help him with people of color ahead of this election? Of course not. But he is just that desperate for attention and to distract from something bad. Just like here, where he needs to get people to stop talking about the debate. And so even though attacking the biggest star on earth seems like a strategically suicidal position, Trump is perfectly content to take it because distraction is the name of the game for him. And by the way, that's a point that Pete Buttigieg made on air.
But just to see the impact that something like this could be having on people's lives, what do you make of what's happening?
This is a strategy. And there's even more to it than demonizing immigrants, although that's obviously part of what he's doing. This is a strategy to get us talking about the latest crazy thing that he did, whatever urban legend he amplifies. Right now, it's about people eating cats or geese or whatever, because he cannot afford for us to be talking about his record. He doesn't want us talking about the fact that we lost manufacturing jobs on his watch, even before COVID, which is why the United Auto Workers are against him. He doesn't want us talking about the fact that his main economic policy promise he actually kept was to cut taxes for the rich. He doesn't want us talking about how he demolished the right to choose in this country, that he's the reason that even IVF could be banned in many places in this country. The last thing he wants us to do is to talk about his record or his agenda. So what he wants us talking about is whatever crazy nonsense he can thrust into the center of the internet and the media conversation, which this week happens to be the stuff about eating cats or dogs or geese or whatever.
So you think
it's
just a distraction technique?
Yeah, I mean, but it's one that isn't harmless, right? It's affecting this community, and it contributes to this bigger picture of demonizing immigrants. But again, this is strategic. I don't give him credit for much, but whether it's this, whether it's blurting out a racist remark in a auditorium full of black journalists, as he did a few weeks ago, whether it's choosing 9/11 of all days to invite a 9/11 truther who said it was an inside job with him, right? All of these things are to a purpose. And the purpose is to do something so outrageous that we have to talk about it, that journalists have to go in, if for no other reason than to run it down and debunk it when it's false. And to try to suck up all the oxygen into that so that we're not talking about his profoundly unpopular policy agenda, Project 2025, and all of the failures of his actual time in office.
And so at this point, what should we expect? Well, clearly Donald Trump will accept Billie Eilish's endorsement and move on, doing whatever he can to make the affirmative case to young people across the country that he's looking out for their best interest. I'm sorry, I couldn't even finish that sentence. He's going to attack Billie Eilish. I mean, let's be real here. Donald Trump's ego is so delicate that he is physically incapable of not hitting back. It's not in his DNA. It's like telling a bird not to fly. Donald Trump does not know how to take an L. He only knows how to return fire because he is the tiniest man in the world. Listen to what he said about Taylor Swift.
Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat. And she'll probably pay a price for it.
That Taylor Swift will, quote, pay a price for it in the marketplace. That was on Wednesday. By Thursday, one day later, Taylor went to the Video Music Awards, the VMAs, and took home the most awards and broke the record for most wins of any solo artist in history. So yeah, just a hunch, but something tells me that Taylor is probably not going to pay a price for it in the marketplace. In fact, she's so certain that she won't that she's continuing her voter registration pleas. Here she is on stage at the VMAs just last week.
To the fans, I'm always trying to figure out a way to say thank you to you for making my life what it is, for making the Eras Tour what it has become, for making the Tortured Poets Department what it has become. That's all you guys for doing that and for voting for this award. So thank you to MTV for giving me this opportunity to thank the fans, to thank you for what you've done. And the fact that this is a fan-voted award and you voted for this, I appreciate it so much. And if you are over 18, please register to vote for something else that's very important coming up, the 2024 presidential election. I love you all so much. Thank you for this moment.
So I think that Taylor understands full well that her career is going to be just fine without kowtowing to the guy who ensured that women would lose their reproductive freedom under his presidency. And to that point, Taylor and Billie Eilish, along with Beyonce and Charli XCX and Olivia Rodrigo and all of the other massively popular female artists who've endorsed Kamala Harris this cycle, are exposing the reality of Donald Trump, that he is weak. He wants nothing more than to frame himself as strong, as being a tough guy, a strong man. And yet, since the moment Kamala Harris entered this race, she's looked leagues stronger than him. She even had him waffling for days and days about whether he would even do the debate at all. And now Trump is sitting idly by while the biggest stars in America not only endorse Kamala over him, but actively push their massive audiences to register to vote and head out to the polls in November. All the while, Trump sits there attacking them online like a fat-fingered keyboard warrior, sending angry all-caps tweets from the breakfast buffet at his golf club. To claim that Donald Trump's strength, influence, and self-control are all waning would be the understatement of the century. Now, if Trump had any sense, he'd probably stop going head-to-head with women who are more popular, more influential, and more powerful than he is. He would probably cut his losses and save himself the embarrassment. But if there's one thing that we know about Trump, it is his inability to accept defeat. And so you should fully expect his feuds to continue, which means that we may not have even seen the last voter registration link coupled with some not-so-kind words about Trump and Vance. And considering these artists all together have enough sway to single-handedly register enough voters to change the entire outcome of the election, to swing full states from red to blue, that's not exactly what I would call a smart move by Trump. But then again, most of his moves aren't. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.